Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to Heart with Latrice Sampson Richards. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, and of course, as usual, I'm super excited to be here with y'all today for have a real conversation about what it takes to exist in healthy relationships. Today's topic is how to fight fair. So, I wanted to talk about today's topic, how to fight fair, because my husband and I had a fight this weekend. For it was only like a 2-day fight, but it was a fight nonetheless. And one of the things that I really love about our relationship is that we fight fair. I'm not saying that we don't ever hurt each other's feelings. I'm not saying that, we don't, either of us take it a little too far or have ever taken it a little too far from time to time. But for the most part, we fight fairly. And I think that there's so many couples out there who engage in fights, or people who have the idea of being in a relationship or a healthy relationship means that you never have any conflict or we never fight. If I meet a couple and they say, oh, we never fight, we never have an issue, I'm kind of like, I feel like you're lying. You know what I'm saying? Because the reality is that conflict comes up in relationships, especially if you live together, if you share a child together, you're trying to co-parent, if you are trying to do anything together, there is going to be conflict at some point. And so many of us are afraid to engage in conflict in our relationships because for some reason in our minds, we feel like that means that something's wrong with us, that something's wrong with the relationship, that maybe the relationship is not as strong as it needs to be or should be, but that's just not the case. Now, constant, consistent conflict that never gets resolved, that's ongoing and everything is a problem, well then that's a different topic and we'll talk about that at another time. But for today, I just want to give us some tips and pointers on how to engage in conflict within a relationship, specifically a romantic relationship, but really these apply to any relationship with a few exceptions, and I'll talk about those as we go through it. But I wanted to give us just a general guide. This is not an all-inclusive list of fair fighting rules. What are the things, like when we say fight fair, what does that mean? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first rule is more of a personal rule because it takes place before you really enter the conflict or engage in the conflict with your partner. Okay, so rule number 1 is be clear. In order for you to be able to present what you want, need, think, and feel, you have to first be clear about those things within yourself, okay? How can you communicate effectively if you don't yet have a full understanding or an appropriate level of understanding of what it is that needs to be communicated? And so a lot of times we don't take the time that we need in order to clarify what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what is it that we actually need to address, what is the thing that's actually bothering us. Like, we're not taking the time that we need to take in order to really get clear about these things within ourselves. And so when we engage in the conflict, when we approach the conflict, there's confusion and there's chaos, but that's because the chaos is inside of you and you are manifesting that into the conflict resolution, okay? So you have to get clear with yourself about what it is that you're thinking, what it is you want to talk about, what it is that you're feeling, what are your ideal outcomes. Like, you just need to take a moment to get clear within yourself first. And when it comes to getting clarity in the relationship or within the conflict itself, I think you also want to, the two of you need to both understand, what are we talking about right now? Like, what is the actual topic of the thing that we're dealing with? Because a lot of times we get into arguments about things that are just the surface level, but that don't have anything really to do with the actual problem that's causing this argument. Hello, somebody, okay? We argue about the stupid stuff, the menial stuff, because those things are tangible, those things are present. But we need to get clear, if we're gonna resolve it, which is the name of the game, we need to be clear about what we're actually talking about. So no, like it started off, maybe we was talking about the trash, but we're not really talking about the trash. We're talking about how I feel disrespected, or how I don't feel supported by you. Like, what is it that we're really talking about here? Rule number 2 is speak for yourself. Okay, I am horrible at this. My husband gets me every time, having to remind me or like call it out to me, because what happens a lot of times is I will take what I'm feeling or what I think happened in the situation, and I just kind of put that on to him, and it becomes fact in my head. And so a lot of times we do that, and then I'll do that, and he'll say, oh, so you talking for me now? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you in my head, you know what I'm thinking, you know what I'm feeling. And that's when I kind of have to like snap back, because the reality is that I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what he's feeling. And he has to be able to communicate that to me. And I have to be able to create a space for him to be able to do that for me. And so when we talk about speaking for yourself, I'm talking about paying attention to what you feel and not assigning those feelings onto your spouse or the person that you're engaging in the conflict with. Because just because it makes sense in your head doesn't mean that it makes sense in reality, okay? And it's not fair for you to just determine the facts of the situation when you don't really know all of them. So speak for yourself and allow your spouse or your partner or the person on the other end of this conflict to speak for themselves, because you need to be able to understand the reality of what's going on, and they need to be able to feel like their voice matters. Rule number 3 is be respectful. So when I talk about respect, I'm talking about on multiple levels. I mean, no yelling at each other, no demeaning each other, calling each other names, bringing up old past experiences that were traumatic experiences and using those things that were shared with you within the confines of a trusting experience, and use those things as weapons, because now you mad day is here, and you feel like you just gonna keep bringing that up because you know that's a sore spot for that person, and at the end of the day you're just trying to help them. Okay, so remain respectful, because what you have to keep in mind is that, like, if this is a relationship, a partnership, or anything like that, is that you want there to be still a relationship on the other side of all of that. And contrary to what anybody might say, think, or try to make you believe, words hurt. Words hurt. Okay? And you cannot take them back. Once you put that out there, it is out there for the world, and it cannot be taken back. It's in the atmosphere, which takes us into rule number 4, which is do not say the word divorce. You cannot bring up divorce in a heated moment of, you mad, you angry, y'all talking about whatever needs to be talked about. And in that moment, you might feel very, very frustrated. But do you really want a divorce? A lot of times we throw that out there. We threaten with divorce, or we try to use that term or the idea of divorce as a weapon. But once you put that into the atmosphere of your marriage, it lingers. And it becomes like the elephant in the room. It breaks the trust that your partner, that you have within your relationship. Because how am I supposed to know that every time we get into an argument, you're not going to be ready to walk out of the door? Using divorce as a weapon to win an argument or to get your point across, it's rude, it's mean, it's dishonest, it's manipulative. And at the end of the day, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. And once you introduce that, it is extremely difficult to take it back. I would even go so far as to say it doesn't ever come back off the table. Now you are introducing divorce as an option in our marriage. So it becomes easier and easier to conceive of it. Okay? So do not put the word divorce in your marriage until you are absolutely sure and certain that that's what you want. Okay? If you have done everything you can and you feel like, you know what, like this is not just in the moment, I've processed my emotions about it, I've put thought into this decision, and I want a divorce, then by all means. But using divorce in the middle of an argument, no, that's not fair. The fifth and final fair fighting rule for today is to be present. When you are engaged in a conflict with your spouse or with a partner or another individual, it is not fair for you to mentally or emotionally leave that conversation, not paying attention to what they're saying, reading text messages or doing other things while they're trying to have a serious discussion with you. It's not fair, because what that communicates to the person on the receiving end is, I don't give a shit about nothing that you're saying right now. This shit is really not that important to me, and why the fuck you still talking? I mean, let's just be real. Even if that's not your intention to communicate, that's what you are communicating. And it's fucked up. Point blank period. It's fucked up. So making sure that you allow yourself to be present and in the moment and give the person the respect that they deserve while they are trying to communicate a difficult topic. We have to keep in mind that not everybody is comfortable with communicating, but everybody needs to learn how to get comfortable with communicating. And if you are in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a business relationship, a friendship, or a personal romantic relationship, you want and need for them to want and need to communicate with your ass. So you have to create a space or an environment where they can feel comfortable with doing so. Because if you're not communicating in a relationship, it is doomed to fail. We have to talk to each other. So being present, being aware of what's being communicated, actively engaging in a conversation, it helps to build and strengthen trust in the relationship, which makes me feel more comfortable with opening up and sharing, which makes the relationship stronger. Okay? So make sure that you are present when you are communicating in a confrontation or a conflict. All right, y'all, that's your 5 rules, fair fighting rules for today. Like I said, this list is not all inclusive. There's a lot of nuance, I understand. Let me know what your thoughts are about it. If you have any questions, do you want to add a rule to the list? You can send me an email at support@latricesampsonrichards.com and let me know how you like it. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just look me up, Latrice Sampson Richards. I'm on there or whatever. Join my free Facebook group, Trust Village. It is a safe space for healing and manifestation. And check out my vlog on Facebook Live every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, called From Scratch Live, which is where I share my journey in hopes that it'll help you along your own. All right? I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.